I know I wasn't supposed to bring a weapon to class, but today I brought in a sword. You might be thinking, that's not a sword, that's a strange looking necklace. Well, this is a rosary, and for over 500 years, Catholic Christians have been using this spiritual weapon to combat the forces of darkness. The rosary represents a spiritual sword, but also a link to the divine. And since I was about 4 years old, my family and I would gather about once a day and say the rosary together. Since this rosary has accompanied me almost my entire life, I'm familiar with how powerful it is. So today, I would like to begin by explaining how to use the rosary and what it represents to me, and then why it has connected me to the Catholic faith. So let's begin by talking about how to use the rosary. So on the cross, this is when we say the Apostles' Creed, which is a summary of what Catholics believe. And on the first 3 beads, we say a prayer for increase in faith, hope, and love, which are the 3 most important values of the Catholic faith. The rest of the rosary is broken up into 5 decades. During each of these decades, we meditate on a different aspect of Christ's life. So for example, if we're saying the joyful mysteries, we'd meditate on the stages, the early life of Christ and the different stages in there. So now that we've talked about how to say the rosary, I'd like to go over what the rosary represents. So as before mentioned, the rosary is a powerful spiritual weapon and a link to the divine. This rosary is actually an exact replica of the rosaries that were used by soldiers in World War II. It's made of gunmetal and is extremely durable. And so whenever the soldiers were overwhelmed by all the darkness and the death that was surrounding them in the war, they were able to use the rosary as a way to turn their minds on the light of Christ, as well as a tool that they could use to pray for their fellow soldiers and even their enemies. So now that we've talked about how to use the rosary and what it represents, I'd like to talk about why I'm part of the Catholic faith. So for me, the reason I identify with the Catholic religion is because it's awesome to be part of a huge family. The word Catholic actually means universal, and that meaning is so fitting because there's over 1.2 billion Catholics, and Catholics can be found on every nation in the globe. That universality is important to me because it means no matter where I go, I have a family that will support me and take care of me, as well as brothers and sisters that will constantly push me to be better. For example, here on campus, there's a Catholic ministry, and they do lots of outreach, and it's been so awesome to be part of that, and especially with the ministries to the kids in the juvenile detention center, as well as the homeless. So now that we've talked about why I identify with the Catholic faith, I'd like to talk about the 3 most important values of this religion. So the 3 most important values are faith, hope, and love. These values are important because they help you navigate through life's challenges. Faith is important because it's life-changing to believe that there's a God that created you, chose you, and has a purpose for you. Hope is really important to me, especially because if you don't believe that good will ultimately overcome evil, it's easy to fall into anxiety and even depression. Finally, love is important to me because it draws you out of yourself and helps focus your attention on others. So now that we've talked about how to say the rosary, as well as what it represents and why I identify with it, I would like to conclude by restating what we learned today. So the rosary is a powerful weapon and a link to the divine. And today we talked about how to use it, as well as what it represents, and then why I'm part of the Catholic family. So to conclude, I'd like to leave you all with a thought. So life's a battle, and don't forget to equip yourself with a spiritual weapon like the rosary.